All right guys, today's tackle tech tip is brought to you by Fish USA, and today we're going to be talking about Kwikfish and tuning plugs, the killer fish, the Kwikfish, all the different types of plugs that you can use. There's a certain way to tune them and a certain way to run them that's going to make them more efficient. So they come stock out of the box like this, and it's, you know, a lot of them will run just straight out of the box, but you always want to check them. You always want to check them because these plugs will come out of the box and some of them will work and some of them won't. Some of them will tune to one side or the other. So I'm going to set this plug in the water and kind of show you what I mean here. So how I test this plug is I set in the water and then I pull straight back. And you see how that plug pulls directly straight even with the rod tip. That's extremely important. It's not diving off to the left and it's not diving off to the right and it's not turning a circle. That thing looks absolutely perfect. So obviously this is a plug that I've tuned before, and actually this plug, another way you can tell on these plugs is the way that the bill, as they dig into the current, the bill will wear very evenly. If you start seeing a lot of chipping on one side or the other, you know that your plug is probably not tuned or not running properly. So there's a couple things that to fix that. Number one, when you wrap them with tuna or sardines or whatever you're gonna wrap them with, people can use herring, some people use eggs and sand shrimp, and you just take it. It's real important if you see how symmetrical this is, how it's equal on both sides, and it's not real heavy up here and real thin back here. You wanna try to make that wrap super even. So as I'm wrapping that, I kind of take my thumbs and I'll push it like this to the center of the plug, and then I'll take this side and I'll do the same as I'm wrapping it. That way it wraps on there nice and straight. Some guys will use bigger wraps, but I find that the more meat that you put on these plugs, the more uneven they're gonna run because you got that much more added to the plug. So we're gonna test this. We know this plug runs straight, but if this plug was diving off to the right, the way to fix this is every plug comes with this little clip right here, or this little, where your duo snap connects to, this little round eye right here. So if my plug is diving to the right, I would slightly turn this eye to the left, and it's very minimal turn. So a little bit goes a long ways. If you turn it too much to the left, you're gonna see your plug start diving off the opposite direction. And so you wanna just kind of calculate that, give it a little bit this way, a little bit that way, till you get that plug to run perfectly straight in the water like this. So you wanna see that thing with the tail of the plug up, and you wanna be able to see that bill running equal to each side. So it'll be diving left and right, you know, as that plug digs in the water, and you don't want it, like if you watch, I pull real hard on this thing. If you pull real hard, it'll start to flare out to one side. So that's what they'll look like when they're untuned, is they'll start to turn real hard out to this side. And a lot of times current can do that as well, but you wanna make sure before you put these in the water that they're diving nice and straight. It's extremely important. These things are incredible fish catchers, if you will. The salmon love this, especially in off-colored water. And you know, you can troll them, you can do all kinds of stuff with them, but in the river, this is kind of how we run them. Now, I will show you a little thing I do with the setup here, is I run a little dropper. Now, I used to think this messed with the way that they run, but it does not. I've caught hundreds of them on it. But I just run this little tag on here so I can throw a diver on there, or a little piece of lead, or if I want to get that down in a super deep hole, I can just add a little piece of lead to that, or I can add a diver to it. And if I'm not running it, I just connect it back up, and it just kind of hangs there like that. Doesn't affect the plug at all, but super effective way. Make sure you guys tune your plugs. Thanks for tuning into this week's Tackle Tech Tip, brought to you by Fish USA. And you guys can find all these types of lures, plugs, and anything for salmon, trout, and steelhead on fishusa.com. Thanks for tuning in, guys.